Hey, it's Mike Goldstein here with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And today we are so lucky to have with us one of Michigan's finest kitchen, bath remodeling, basement remodeling companies, all-in-one design build with the owner, John Ward. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
So, John, you've been in business for quite a while. You know the industry. You have been remodeling kitchens, bathrooms, basements, whole houses for quite a while. But tell us a little bit about the company. Who is All-in-One? What's the history of it?
So All-in-One started different name. It started as a liaison doing countertops back in 2013, and it kind of involved with doing that work. It kind of evolved into becoming a kitchen and bath store, and then we kind of wanted to encompass all the things that we saw that we thought were broken into having everything in one place and doing everything from design to product to installation management and so on. So that kind of encompassed the all-in-one design build.
All right. And when you think about all-in-one design build, who is it that you're targeting? Who's the primary customer?
So the primary customer to us is anybody that's in the age group of 35 and up, that in the counties that ran the home pricing that we're chasing, which is pretty much all of them, are going to be anywhere between $275, $300 and up, just so the value's there. So and demographics is obviously kitchens, baths, and basements. That's pretty much it.
Sure. And then when you go out to potential customers, or you're putting your company out there, you're building this brand. You've been building it for years in terms of just you as the face of the company. What is it that you want people to think of when they hear all-in-one?
The main thing that we want them to think about is the big step that we want for the customers that we noticed that's being in the industry on the countertop side of the business as we evolved into this, is that there's just a lot, everybody's focused on the service end of the business, right? That's a contractor, everybody's like, man, are they going to show up? They're going to do this, they're going to do that. So we wanted to be able to, whether we have trade partners or whether we have in-house crews, the goal is to be able to have knowledgeable people here that can educate you on the product, but as well as take you through the process, because the process is the most important part, because that's what installs it in your home. That's what makes your home become this design, this dream that we put together for you. So how do we put all that into one place, and you're able just to kind of navigate right through it, and you have that support all the way to the end of it. And that's kind of what we want people to know or to think about when they think about all-in-one design build, is exactly the name. Everything is in one place. You don't have to shop around. You don't have to go around to places and try to believe that knowledgeable person is going to be telling you something, even though they're not installing it for you. They're just selling you that product. We not only sell the product, we install the same product. So we're only going to have stuff in our showroom that's something that we have success with, and we know it's going to give you value, and it's going to be a quality product in your home.
Yeah, and what it sounds like you're really talking about, especially in this day and age, and in the post-COVID world, is the trust factor. Because people really they need to know who's going to be in their home. They want to be able to trust that person. And what you're saying is that, at least what I'm hearing, is that with all-in-one, who's going to be there. You're talking to someone within the company who's going to provide the same installers, it's the same company who has the product in stock. You're not running around and wondering, am I going to have a different sub in my home every single day?
Yeah. So the downside of not having that scenario is, from what we find from talking with customers and why they came to us and what made us different from most other people, is from the start, our designers are not just designers. They're not just designing this dream for you. And then having all these other people involved, and they're just there to answer questions about design. Our designers are actually remodeling experts. They understand the remodeling business because they're in it every single day. They go out to jobs, they see the jobs, they understand how the parts and pieces come together, so they can educate you. Not only design you a beautiful kitchen, a bath, or a basement, but also the steps it takes to put that thing together. That's a whole nother world, is when it comes to putting that thing together. It looks pretty on paper, but we got to build it. And then when you're in a COVID situation, where you have a pandemic and, everything, inflation happens and all these timelines get screwed up, and who's navigating you through all that? Who are you going to call if you don't have that source to call? The biggest thing that we found with our customers is that we had a person here that physically called, and all the product, we had jobs that were 8, 9, 10 months out because of delays, in some cases further out than that. But we had people here and our staff calling all those suppliers, making sure your product, because we don't start your job unless your product's here. What's the point?
Right.
Why go tear up your house if I don't have any product? So we had to make sure that those all were going to show up. With all these delays, who's managing all that? Can you imagine being a customer having to call all these people every couple weeks? Is some product here? Is it not here? When is it going to be? Oh, it's delayed for another few months. Now I got to write on a calendar. Now times that by 30 or 40 different jobs. So there's a lot that goes into this behind the scenes that we have to navigate through, to make sure that remodel is going to happen, and it's going to be what the customer paid for.
That's really important to kind of point out, I think. Now, John, one of the the big driving factor of our podcast here is that we're talking to people in the remodeling industry, and we're talking oftentimes to people who are kind of either just getting started, or they're looking to take their business to the next level, and that's something that you have already done. You really are one of the foremost remodeling companies in the area. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how you got there, and what made you such a success. And I think it all starts with, obviously, driving your branding and driving your marketing, and how you get people in to actually use you guys. So have you found that more traditional print-based word of mouth referrals will sustain a business, or have you found that the digital marketing really is the way that you need to take the business at this point?
You gotta try everything at one point, but the reality is that you're going to focus on what works. So if I have to have any suggestions, is track everything that you do, and then you focus on what works. You have to spend money to make money in this business, so you want to make sure your dollars count for everything that you do. So I think the digital world was easy for a lot of people because everybody was sitting home for such a period of time, and they were staring at their phones, and they were they're doing those type of things. We're in the picture business, but we're also in the content business. You have to have good content. You have to be able to be not afraid to get on a camera and talk about your business, your team, and your environment that you're in. So I think that if you incorporate the content with the digital strategy that you're using, whether it be somebody promoting videos, or you're doing digital stuff, or just talking about your team, I think anybody, and I discovered this myself just recently, I think anybody that jumps onto a phone and can talk about their business and not sell their business, talk about their business, their team, their experience, you're not in the sales game, you're in the content and value game. If you can do that, and you can just talk about just experiences, I think if you just did that twice a week, once a week, you'll be amazed at how much business that drives to you. And then invest organically in your SEO, if you don't know what that means, search engine optimization on your website. Put the money into building that solid foundation. And I think that, if you have all that connected, it's not a ton of time in the beginning, and as it becomes a ton of time, then you bring those people in that can consistently manage that. But I think that anybody that can dedicate themselves to be a face of the company, or what do you call it, the imagination officer or whatever, I think it's vital. I honestly think that every company needs to have that person, right? They need to have that person doing that kind of stuff. But in the beginning, that rawness of being real, people love it. It's not always about the photo, it's about the experience, how you treat your people, what goes on in that world. And if you could bring that to light, and I'll use a prime example. Back in the early 90s, there's a show came out, those Orange County Choppers. That was the rawness of that show initially drove so much traffic to them because they were real, man. They were fighting, they were crazy, this is us, man, right? And then it became more of a, down the road. But in the beginning, if you ever watch those first 10 episodes, It's crazy. I mean, and it's funny because those demographics happen even in my place. Me and my wife are here. We fight, we argue, I don't believe you, you don't, all that stuff happens. If I put all that on camera, I'd be on one of those shows.
Well, it's
I mean,
real life.
that's how they got found. It's because of
Yeah.
these crazy guys, man. These guys are crazy. But anyways, that realness is what people want to see. If they didn't, nobody would watch those shows, right? I mean, people want to see what's going on. They want to know how you treat your team, what your team do, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that just be real, be honest, and don't try to sell them on camera. It's not going to work.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think a lot of it goes also to, putting the right content out there on
100%.
Instagram and on YouTube, and just being informative and not being salesy. But with that said, is it fair to say that SEO is really is one of the best driving factors for the business, in terms of people looking for, for local companies, people looking for local contractors to come in, and looking for that, the trust factor in terms of reviews and all of that?
I think that it's going to start off with, they have to find you.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go to, okay, so I found you. So what am I seeing? Right. You're going to click on a website. You're going to click on relevant content that goes along to that site, whether it be that you're on other publications, like Howls or whatever the story is. As you show up, I think that doing SEO and the stuff that I've learned, and not having all the answers, but you have to start off you have to be relevant in your area. So you always start off with where your showroom is. If you have a showroom, you have the first process down. People ask me all the time, why do you have a showroom? If you don't have a place to go, this is just me, credibility is concrete in this business. I don't know how credible you're going to be if you're driving around. I was that person driving around a minivan with a sample board, working out of my house. It works when you're small, but if you want something else, building credibility is to get a showroom. Start off with something small, because then you can start using the proper channels for GMB and all the things that you need to start building that foundation, and then build the foundation and do all the things that make that concrete. There's people that you can hire. I'm talking to one right now that can definitely put you in the space for that. But I think that those are the mistakes that we made in the beginning. We didn't focus on the concrete of that, the foundation of that. So over the years, if I would have done that from the start, not say it's great now, but if you do that in the beginning and you're core focused on it, you're going to find that traffic comes because that local market wants to buy local. They're being told to every day, buy local, buy local, buy local, buy local. Well, if they can't find you, they're not going to buy from you. And right now, everybody knows that the first thing they're going to do is pop up one of these bad boys, and they're going to see where you're at. The newspaper isn't on here, right? Older generations, older crowds. Now we do have a crowd that's, bathroom people in this general area that we do are older. So that's where your print stuff will come in. I'm not saying don't spend money on print. I'm saying you have to know your demographic of the person that you're going after. Start off with, this is the person I want to target. If it's going to be the 35 to 65, like we're doing, then you have a big part of your marketing that's going to be focused on digital, focused on internet, focused on that local organic way of attracting them. And then a small percentage of that will be in those books of those, or any type of print that you feel that's going to work. You try them. Print is a try game. Try it, doesn't work. If it's not making you any money, then it's wasting money. But print is like anything else. It could be a brand. It could be something that's giving your name into a area. So I only do print on publications that are going into high-end communities. And the reason for that is because the gated communities, those people, they're not just books that they get thrown away. These people, like they're noticing what Susie and Bobby are doing down the street. Are they selling their home? And these people physically read this stuff. So I try to get into all those type of books. We have closed jobs out of those books because a lot of people look at those if they're in those communities. But that's the only print I really get involved in. But other than that, I think that you have to start off with a digital online presence. Set up your first Instagram and Facebook account and just be real. And like you said, value sells. And SEO wise, I think that you have to get with somebody that knows what they're doing. And you start off with a website. It don't even have to be, just has to be something that educates, right? This has to be something that gives them information to start off with.
It's got to be
And
more
then,
educational than it's got to be salesy. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
exactly.
And it's,
You
you're
know,
building a rapport with your client base, right? So, and it's all about the trust factor. I mean, I think it totally, it
yep,
comes back to that constantly. There are three things that I always look at. There's expertise, there's authority, and then there's trust. And if you have those three, I think the people, for the most part, will want to work with you.
100%. If you can just show people that you're trustworthy, they see you in the videos, they see what you're doing. I mean, you literally could do 3 videos, build a site, put some information out, or do some content, type up some stuff that you just feel good about, what's your passion, what's your vision, and you'd be amazed. Just talking to people, you'd be amazed. You can target so many people in one day on one phone, which I think is just truly amazing. And you'll be amazed that, and I could teach some tricks on Instagram, because Instagram, you can follow anybody you want. It's not like Facebook. You literally can go to anybody and follow everybody that they're following. I mean, you can spend hours, and you can build a pretty good portfolio of people by knowing the type of customer demographic and who they hang out with. So I would always start with Instagram, because you can start there and you can make a huge impact quick with Instagram. Facebook is good too, but Facebook is going to be a little harder to do all that. But Facebook, it just depends. They kind of go together now, because they own each other, if I'm not mistaken. So they kind of go together anyway.
Yeah.
So either way, if you're posting here, it's going there. And if you're posting here, it's going there, if you set them up correctly. So,
and the interesting thing is, we're talking about Instagram and following people there. I think the new kid on the block, TikTok, is coming up quick, and it's going to be interesting to see how it changes the game in terms of where it's more now video based and
yeah,
short video based. Just kind
I
of.
think it will be when the demographic gets to the point of where you got a higher age group that's looking at that, which I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I still think people are like, what is this? But I find myself looking at it, but I don't, because I am looking at it, I'm also seeing that there's nothing on there that's promoting anything that I do.
Right.
Right. I don't see that demographic yet. I see a lot of it still being a younger crowd, a younger type of thing. But hey, it's just like, what was that, Snapchat or whatever it was? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so it's one of these things where, yeah, you have to know what works and what doesn't work. So
Sure. Now, when you're talking about, talking to people and getting people to trust you and all that, one of the big things is reviews. Is there anything that you would recommend that people do, or anything that that we've done with you, where you find that you're able to get your customers to actually review you, or are there any initiatives that you would offer anybody?
100%. Here's the thing, people like money, right? If you do a project with them, have an incentive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's working with you, Mike, is that's a big part of what moving forward would be on our initiatives on that, is to offer incentives to people to do that, because it's huge to have that. Most people, if you ask them, will do it, but life happens. I mean, the minute that's done, the last thing you want to worry about is reviewing you. Unless I mean, I'm not saying if you don't make a big enough impact, they won't do that. So I think that us, it's going to be like the final walkthrough is going to be a little bit more enhanced. It's going to be like a gift, or there's going to be something like, we had one of our jobs, it was a huge kitchen and a huge bathroom that we did. And so the girls, they just kind of paid attention to what was in the house and that kind of stuff. And they had this beautiful basket that they gave on both of the jobs. And she wrote us a great, not so much a review, but she wrote a blog about the whole experience of the jobs.
Yeah.
And so my point is that, it doesn't have to be, hey, if I give you $50, we go do a review. There's a lot of creative ways to do that. And you'll find that the last impression is everything. And then when you go to ask, I'm going to say they feel obligated, but that's really what it's going to happen in their mind. Oh God, these guys got me this beautiful basket. I need to go review those people. They're just amazing. So that's kind of the incentive that we want to do. There's actually a company that does this, by the way. In the final stages, they call it the final stages, and they have this whole campaign based around this gift that goes out, and then they ask for this, and then they promote this type thing. So I think you have to have an end game. Right. So everybody focuses on the sale, and they focus on, let's give them a great experience. Let's go get our 10s. And then what happened next?
Right.
So
So,
we're the casualty of it as well. So now you have to focus on this part. This is the reactivating the campaign again. Like they always call it the full life cycle of a customer. We're like 80% of the life cycle. So now I have all these people down here, like me and Mike, talking about the basement remodeling stuff and the revenue streams. So every time you're advancing, like you were saying earlier, that you can keep activating this stuff, and it gives you lots of things to talk about, honestly, to keep re-engaging those customers. And they, again, if they keep seeing your name, they're going to refer you. They may not want any business from you right now, or they don't have a
yeah.
basement, but you're going to be always in their head.
Well, and it's funny. It sounds what you're saying is, you have to add it into your process. I mean, because
100%.
processes, I mean, what
100%.
drives a business, I think, is the process that the business has.
You have to have a
Yeah.
process for getting customers to come back.
Definitely. So now, one of the other things that is really big right now is being able to engage with your audience. And so do you use social media in any way, in terms of Facebook? You talked about Instagram earlier. Where you're engaging the community, or you're showing the community, the team, or special events that you might be doing, anything like that you find helps.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that we haven't focused on, is, and stuff that we need to focus on, but you got to be digital. You got to have that experience with your customers. So I think that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we're new to YouTube, and you've been a big part of that, and that's gonna be a big, that's gonna be a continued investment to kind of keep that thing moving. I think all those play very well together. Because YouTube's holding all the videos that you're creating the content with. So, now you're promoting that. Google's going to have those triggers that pull all those videos through. It all kind of comes together. So I think that, those are the three main things. Facebook is Instagram, Instagram is Facebook. It all kind of goes together. And I have YouTube, and that's Google. And Google's your other space, because Google's what's driving you in your GMB. It's what's driving you organically. It's what's driving you all across the board. So I think that all that together is a foundation. And the foundation has to be well thought out. I'm a kind of like, let's do it. But you got to think this stuff out. Getting a guy like, you, Mike, involved helps you kind of put those processes together. And then you got to have a database for your customers, right? Keeping emails and phone numbers and all these different things. I remember when I always bought my cars from one individual all my life. I've known him for many years. He knows my birthday. He knows everything about me. And that's a database, right? It's constantly triggering these things. So automate your process as much as you can, but make it to the point where it's flawless. It's a consistent cycle. And I think that if you can do that, and that's what we're focused on right now, is we have one piece of that puzzle that's not been focused on, which is the end result. But the YouTube, I was never a fan, to be honest with you. But once I started doing stuff with it, and I realized that, man, there's an impact here. And the thing about it is not even, the impact is not even to where you would notice it right away. But you see people, I have people come into the showroom. I'm not nowhere a scholar at video, but I have people to this day that come into the showroom. Hey man, I saw you on here or there, whatever the story is. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, I've done like 10 videos or 20 videos, so it makes an impact. If they can relate to your face, I saw you, immediately you have more trust than the guy down the street, because they're remembering a face. They're remembering, through COVID, I did this video about our process. It's not on our current site, but it was on our old site, that you built a new site. And I had so many people come in and say, hey, I saw your video on your website, or whatever the story was. I was shocked. I mean, we didn't even promote that thing that much. I mean, it was not even that big of a deal. So my point is, it doesn't need to be an impact. It doesn't need to be seen by thousands of people. Your local market is going to talk about it.
Sure.
And it drives traffic. So if my whole thing is that if you're afraid to be in business and be the light of your business, then find somebody that's not afraid of it. It will make the biggest impact in your business. If you don't have to. This is my story. I'm a salesperson by nature. So this is okay for me. This is like my space, right? And being the face of the company is not easy for everybody. So the challenge for most business owners is that, do you want to be in the weeds and never be seen and you're just that guy. Maybe you're better at the doer and you're out there doing the work and that kind of stuff. Or are you okay going out and publicly putting yourself out there? And people are afraid if there's a problem on the job, you're going to be the one that they're going to go to. No, you build a great team around you and they'll deal with that team. Your team will protect you in a sense, is what I'm getting at. But I think that today, if you do the way they did in old school days, those were faces of companies, man. I mean, here in Michigan, Art Vans and, ABC Warehouse and all these guys, man, they were huge. And they were huge because they weren't afraid to be in front of a camera. They weren't afraid to talk about their business and build the trust with the public. And, you're the politician of your business. You got to get out there and you got to talk about, your business, and you're passionate. People see that in video. They see that. They can't see it in the picture, but they can see it if you're talking about it. And that kind of stuff. So I think that's, to me, is the biggest thing in marketing that I've seen the difference in, is that people relate to something that they can relate to. They can relate to the fact that, man, you're real. I can touch you. I saw him at the store the other day. I saw him here. I saw him, so I think that that's a big impact. Now, obviously, if you're national, that's a little bit different, but small companies.
That's a whole different ballgame, and
Yeah.
a big part of like I said, of our shows, we're talking to people who are either getting started or looking to take their business to that next level. So let me ask you, John, I mean, as someone who's been there, done that, what would your advice be to somebody who really wants to take their remodeling company to that next level? What's the thing that they need to really think about?
Start off with knowing your numbers. Like, we talked about that earlier. That's mistakes. I mean, you're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot. But you have to fail to succeed. That's almost I believe that's a proven fact. It is in my book. So you have to start with, if remodeling is truly based on numbers. You have to be able to produce a product that you took a pretty good educated guess on, then you estimated another pretty good educated guess. So all those processes put together equals money, and money is how this business works. So it's great to sell it, but if you don't sell it for enough money, you won't produce it, and then you'll go broke at dinner. And so I think you got to know your numbers. You got to understand job costing, estimating, all that kind of stuff. So if you get those pieces to the puzzle right, and don't be afraid to reach out to your local companies that are in the same space. Here's one thing I've learned: they want to talk to you. They want to know what you know, and you need to know what they know. So don't be afraid to reach out. I've reached out to a lot of our local. I've built some great relationships doing it, and this is just the past 6 to 7 months. And they want to help you. They really do. So if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, reach out, ask people, join groups. There's Facebook groups, all kinds of Facebook groups and remodeling where people will be more than happy to help. Outside of that, success is going to come from, if you're going to get into the weeds and you're going to figure things out. I'm a type of person, if I don't know, I'm going to get online, I'm going to research, I'm going to figure out what I need to do. Half of me running this business has been me going home at night. I call it sponging. And that's because that's really what I'm doing. You can't be afraid to get out there and figure things out. It doesn't always work. I mean, we made many mistakes, but I know for a fact that I would not know what I know now if I didn't do what I did. If I didn't sponge, if I didn't figure out, hey man, what does this terminology mean? Me and my accountant to this day. So my best advice is going to be, start off with a lawyer. You need a lawyer in this business. You need contracts, you need things looked over, you need somebody to talk to. You need a good accountant, and you need a construction accountant, not some dude off the street that you just met. Get a good accountant, and they need to be a construction accountant. Why? Because they need to understand that you have jobs you're not going to finish this year. Why are you going to pay taxes on something that you haven't collected? So you need to make sure that you have a good somebody that understands construction, understands your business. For an accountant, that's many mistakes I made right there. 3 of them to be exact. One of them didn't even do my taxes right, and I had to pay that nice penalty. So get a great accountant, get a decent attorney that you can bounce questions off of, and make sure that they're keeping you legit. Get licensed. Don't live on the dream that somebody isn't going to chase you for money. They are. So get licensed properly to your state. Other than that, just don't be afraid to fail a little bit. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. As long as you're willing to do the homework for the mistake that you did, to figure out what you did wrong. I think that as a business owner, your team wants to know you screw up, right? They want a leader's going to screw up. And if you can be that way, then, humble is what I'm getting at, and not afraid to admit to your mistakes. And if you don't own up to it, how are you going to fix it anyway? But and don't be afraid to read good books. I've read a lot of great books. I'm not a reader, but I learned in business that knowledge is power, man. Especially when you're sitting at home and you have no idea what the next step is.
Well, that's
It's okay.
that's
It's
great
okay
advice.
not,
That's
no, it's okay not to have the answer. Nobody told me none of this crap when I started the business. I started the business on granted off a freaking sample board, driving around in a minivan to a bunch of job sites that I had to listen to. Man, look at this dude. He's in the minivan all the time, and made me go buy a truck because I had to listen to it so much. My point is that there is no strategy. There is no book. There is none of that, right? It's just you need to take the risk, go get it done. And just know that if you have a plan, create action to the plan, and you'll get somewhere. You'll screw up all the other stuff. But if I had to start this over right now, like draw the line in the sand, let's start a new company. Oh man, it would be a whole different world, right? Because now you know what you know. So
not only that, but you could also attend, YouTube University
exactly.
and Google High School.
Exactly. You've got most people that start business are not business people, right? They don't, man, I'm gonna go start but when you're starting a business, take your time. Don't, I mean, a lot of the mistakes we made is, you want to grow. No, don't do it. Stay small in this industry. Stay small, lean and mean, and then let the profits grow you. Sometimes growth will put you out of business. And especially in this type of business, because if you're not focusing on your numbers, you're focused on sales and growth, and these two sides of the world don't work. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mistakes you're going to make, and there's a lot of things that may not go well, but just stay like this as long as you can, because you'll find that if you stay like that, that's the one mistake I wish I never would have done. That's why right now we're back to one location. We're even shrinking. We're shrinking right now because you gotta. It's
shrinking, but you become profitable by doing it.
Yeah, you got to get to the point where you have your control, right? And now I'm a control freak because I've all these mistakes, all these things I've learned is get back to control. And then when you have control, then you can control it, and then you can, I'm not saying do this. I'm saying, know what you're worth and know what you're good at, but other than that, you gotta be able to get it where it's controllable and you guaranteeing yourself profit. Focus on your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know what it is, if you don't know financials, if you don't know any of that stuff, that's why you need to have people like accountants and things, because if you don't know, we'll hurt you.
Well, John, it's interesting because one of the things you had said to me earlier was that, everyone thinks that, sales cures all evils, but honestly, it's quite the opposite, because if you don't know your numbers, and you start selling like crazy, you may sell things, at much too low of a price, and then you're actually losing money because you made sales.
Yes. Yes. If you sold $100,000 job and you paid $102,000 to produce it, you do that enough times, and I assure you, you will not be in business. Cash flow is king, right? So I think that the biggest mistakes I made is I trusted other people. You're going to hear all these things in business. Oh, you got to have these people so that, no, I mean, I'm still out the proven fact that if you want to do it, you have to be able to do it very, very well. And then you can bring somebody else in to train them to do it just as well. So it goes back to the process. If you don't have a process and you just keep hiring people, you're going to get the same outcome. You're going to have a bunch of people that are running in circles because they don't have a process to them. So I believe what people say is that, if you're an owner, you shouldn't be doing all these different jobs. You're 100% right. Yeah. But if you are, as an owner, just running in circles and you're not accomplishing anything, hiring people to do the same thing it's just doesn't make any sense. And that's the mistakes that we made, right? So you had to develop. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm rebuilding our company based on a process, based on the way the business needs to be ran from the perspective as an owner. I set the stage. As the owner, with all the things that I need to put in place. So that way, when I bring that person in to take over marketing or take over this or to take over that, they are going to do it exactly the same way. And they're going to add their talent to it, right? Because you're going to bring talent to that. So I've learned that you have to have the right people in the right seats. That's a proven fact. And if they're in the wrong seats, you got to remove them. You can't be afraid to not pay attention to that. You're not here to employ people. You're here to keep a business running. So you got to make sure that, you can't just hire somebody and assume that they're going to do it. And I've been down that road. Example would be an estimator. Oh, he's doing estimating forever. He's going to know exactly what to do. He's going to teach me some stuff. No, the opposite happened. I didn't pay attention and I have nobody to blame but myself, right? You can't blame this estimator. I hired him. You can only blame yourself. You take full responsibility and you fix it. And then, but now I know I need to make sure that that process is in place. And then when I go to hire that estimator is going to do exactly what I put the foundation of, what our cost should be. This is what our overhead is. Knowing my numbers is going to educate that person to understand what they have to price things at. And then you have to do checks. You got to look at job costing with them. You have to pay time in there so you know that you're moving in the past. So my point is that, my advice is, you start off simple, know your numbers, understand what your costs are, understand what you need to sell for, understand your overhead, and understand what that dollar bill means to your company. So that way when you price something, you understand the math. And then when you go to do your financials, so you can see the math work, budgets, whatever you want to call it, you have to make sure that you understand what you're seeing. And that's where your accountant comes in. They can help you with that. And then understand the financials are what I call it's a time and a place. So usually cash is now accruals. You still got, so you kind of got to just, and there's no easy way about it. I mean, there's no way,
Well, at the end of the day, you have to know your numbers, and you've got to be able to follow through with, let the numbers dictate what you do. Don't dictate, just because.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, trust me. The only thing I was told when I started in this business from people I knew is, because again, we were doing Stone, is, hey, get a great attorney, which we did.
Mhm.
That attorney's, I couldn't tell you where I'd be without that attorney. But that was a lesson I learned when I first got into this. But somebody starting this business versus being in a business and evolving into another business, right? Be involved from selling just countertops all the way across the board over a period of time. So that's a little bit different, because when you're in the business, it's hard to be 30,000 feet looking at it, right? So I always tell people, don't be afraid to get other outside opinions, run the numbers across people, show people what you're seeing, because an outsider looking in may have, and it may be hard to hear, but it's probably going to be right, or they're going to be real close to give you some really good advice. I'm not saying off the street, hey man, can you look at that and tell me what you think? I'm saying people in the industry that have probably been through it, because I'll tell you, of all the people I talk to, they've all been through what I've been through, and they've all, for the first it's amazing to hear people's stories. 5 to 6 years is number of screw ups, and they finally got it right before you met them or right after you met them. Yeah, nice. And don't be afraid of statistics in this business. 10 years, 90% is huge that fail, because all those mistakes eventually run you right out. So it's crazy. When I saw those statistics, I was like, man, really? 10 years, 90%? Every other number was like, first year, you're like batting 80%, right? Because you got plenty of time to screw up.
Sure.
But boy, you hit 10 years in this industry, and construction as a whole, it covers remodeling, everybody. They said that once you get to 10, it's basically 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 go under. That's hard to hear, man.
That's a lot.
Yourself, man, that's tough. And that's nationwide. That's across the board. It's crazy. And it's funny, once you get to 12, 13, and 14, it drops a little bit. Because it's either you figured it out or you figured out just enough.
Yeah, you know enough to be dangerous, unfortunately, I think. So, John, this has been really helpful today, and I'm sure the listeners really appreciate all the great advice. But for those people who are actually our homeowners, or they're looking to get in touch with you in the Southeast Michigan area, in Livingston and Oakland counties, How do they find you?
Couple places. You could go to Facebook, type in all in one design build. Same with Instagram. You'll pull us up there. You can look at pictures and see what we're about, and that you can call 517-552-5985. That comes right into the office here. Cara is our lead designer. She'll be more than happy to help and answer any questions that you have. If you want to take a next step, you go right to a design consultation. You can schedule it, use that same phone number, 517-552-5985, or you can visit our website at Renovate It. So renovateit.com. It's just all one word. And you can go to the website, click on take action, or click the button at the top right hand side of the screen there at the top, and it'll take you right to and take you right to our planning consultation, and you can schedule from there. But yeah, in any shape, way, or form, you can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
That's right. You get that omnipresence going. You're on social, you're on Google, you're on the phones, you're you're everywhere. Well, John, I really want to thank you for your time today. This has been great.
Hey, Mike, thank you. And thank you for all you do for us.
You got it. All right.